Let us begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray to the Blessed Mother so that she can intercede for all of us, so that we may imitate her faith, her hope, and her charity, that we may say yes to God when He calls us to do something for Him. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Our Lady of Lourdes, in the name of the Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you for coming. The reason why I'm using this microphone is because this is being live streamed, so that people can watch it from their homes, those who are not able to come. I want to introduce Cheryl Riley. I met her when I was in the seminary. I was in my third year of theology. I was taking a class on confession and the anointing of the sick with Father Joe Chappell, Monsignor Joe Chappell. And she came to speak about her ministry, which is Rachel's Vineyard retreats for women who have had an abortion. And that, from the moment that she spoke about her own experience, I was really touched. I was not even a deacon at the time, and I said, when I become a priest, I want to work in that kind of ministry. And so I was ordained, and I did it for 10 years. I am helping, but not so much as in the past. And she's originally from Brooklyn, right? Staten Island. She's from my first assignment in North Arlington, Queen of Peace, and she's the founder of Mercy House, right? How many Mercy Houses do you have so far? Are there 3? So Mercy House, they help the needy. There's one, and you will tell them more about the place that you started in Jersey City, not too far from where I was, right? So welcome, thank you for being here. Thank you for being courageous, for speaking the truth tonight, because not many people want to hear about it. And, you know, I think you are brave by being here tonight, so we will pray for you so that you can continue to do this kind of ministry, okay? So thank you for coming again. I'll leave it with Cheryl.
But Father Have, we used to say in Our Lady Queen of Peace, pray for us. From Queen of Peace instead of Lady of Lourdes. Used to be Queen of Peace, but thank you for having me here tonight. And I hate using this mic, but they told me I had to, because I feel like I have such a big mouth. Anyone in here a Yankee fan? No? Yankee fan? Well, I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm not any fan. But I couldn't help think about Aaron Judge, about everyone going crazy about him hitting the home run. I didn't really follow it. But what sparked my attention was that he was adopted, right? So imagine if you went in the middle of Yankee Stadium and told all those Yankee fans, imagine if his mother aborted him, right? Imagine if his mother didn't choose life, right? There wouldn't be an Aaron Judge, and there wouldn't and there wouldn't be, you know, all these Yankee fans screaming and crazy, and you know. And I know Father Paul Houlis was at all the games, and it's all over social media. And I don't think that people realize how important life is. You know, how this you know, young man now is making history, and you know, everyone's looking up to him, all because his mother had the courage to choose life and give him up for adoption. I unfortunately did not have that courage when I was 19. I did not choose life, and I chose to abort my baby. And I'm going to share with you tonight a little bit about my experience of what happened to me as a result of that, but also about how the healing I received, which is how I could stand up tonight and share that experience. We all just went through the whole Roe v. Wade overturn, which I never thought, you know, in a million years that I would live to see that. But it also got to a point where I just had to shut the news off and shut down the social media because people just don't understand the hurt that abortion causes, not only to the mother, the father, the siblings, the grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone. Abortion is a hidden cancer that affects our entire society. Like Father Have say it, I'm from Staten Island, New York. Some people say I have an accent, I don't know. I've been in Jersey for 32 years, because I'm married 32 years this month. I am one of 6 children. I was born and raised there, and I was born and raised as a Catholic. I attended public school, I went to CCD. I never really knew what it meant, choose life. Till this day, at my home parish in Staten Island, there's a banner outside that says choose life. But what did that mean? What did that mean? I saw the banner there, but I thought that if a girl only had 1 or 2 abortions and didn't use it as a form of birth control, then it was okay. You know, the church should just lighten up. And, you know, I was educated in the schoolyard by my friends. What did we know? My parents didn't speak to us about, you know, our sexuality or drugs or alcohol. I don't know where they thought we were going to learn it, but that's where I was educated, in the schoolyard by my friends. And my life was good. I mean, I went to school. You know, there was chaos at home. I always worked. We were always taught, you know, good work ethics. I had a group of friends that I still have to this day. I'm 57 years old. No, 58 I'll be. And I still have the same group of friends from one as old as kindergarten. So I always worked, I went to school, I had younger siblings, but my parents never went to church. We never went to church as a family. We didn't pray together as a family. And my mom always gave us the little envelope with the 2 quarters in it, you know, to go to CCD and then go to church, but we never came together as a family. I knew about God or Jesus, but I kept him at arm's distance. I really, you know, didn't know what it was like to have him in here. So I really thought, as far as birth control and sex before you're married, you know, the church just sat around and made up all these rules just to piss us off. You know, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Why can't we? So I guess I really had to learn the hard way, and I realized after what I went through, and I tell the kids this all the time, the church is for us. The church is for us. There's a reason why the church teaches what it teaches, because the church doesn't want anybody to go through what I went through. That's why it has to stand firm on what was founded on over 2,000 years ago. The church will never change. We change, but the church doesn't. And I didn't have anybody ever tell me that. I didn't know that. I thought that, you know, a bunch of people, priests, bishops, sat around and made up all these rules just to, you know, piss us off. And a lot of that goes from not being educated about sexuality or abstinence and all of that. So, graduated high school, public school, graduated high school. It was the 80s. I went to work in New York City. Life was good. Was I an angel? Absolutely not. And I made bad choices. And what happens if you make a bad choice and you don't get caught? You're going to keep doing it. So what are some of the bad choices I made? Drinking. Well, drinking age was 18. You know, staying out late. Things that, you know, I look back now, maybe they weren't that bad. But what happened to me was when I graduated high school and I started working in Manhattan, a whole different world opens up to me. And at this time in my life, my girlfriends and I, we really didn't have steady boyfriends. Some of us did, some of us didn't. I really just wanted to have fun. And a whole different world opens up, and there was more drugs introduced to me, there was more alcohol introduced, there was more partying. And life was good, so I thought. I went to work, the weekend came, you know, was with my friends, and life was good. And all of that changed when I became 19 and I met this boy. And I met him out in Staten Island, and that was it. I met him one night, we were out, and that was it, and that was the one. Like, I fell fast. And when he wanted to have sex with me, there was no way I was gonna tell him no, because I thought if I didn't have sex with him, he'd go and have sex with someone else, and I was not gonna lose him. There was no way I was gonna lose him. So we dated, and I'm never gonna get pregnant. That's never gonna happen to me. That might happen to you, you, and you, but no way is that ever gonna happen to me. Well, when a boy and a girl sleep together and have sex, my body did exactly what God created my body to do. Get pregnant, achieve pregnancy. It amazes me now that, we have so many young teen pregnancies, because I want to tell God, that's what we're created to do, give life. My body worked, and I became pregnant. And I was 19 years old. And I remember hearing in a health class about how a girl could possibly be pregnant. And that's what made me even go take a pregnancy test. And I remember just thinking, no, I'm not gonna be pregnant. I was 19, I was having fun, and this is not gonna happen to me. And then I get the pregnancy test, and it's positive. And I just remember falling on the bathroom floor crying, like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Here I am, 19, this test is positive, what am I gonna do? I called my best friend, I told her, come up to the house and get me. I could remember this like it was yesterday, and this was in 1985. And she came up in the car, and I got in the car with her, and she's like, what's going on, what's going on? And we pulled over, and I'm crying. She says, what's the matter? I said, I'm pregnant. She said, oh, what? She's like, you're pregnant? She said, okay, I'll get the money for the abortion. And I'm like, well, you're gonna get, and she's like, and it was her boss. She said, I'll go to my boss at the time. She said his name. And I looked at her, and I'm like, no. I'm gonna go and tell my boyfriend, and he's gonna marry me, and we're gonna have this baby, and we're gonna go live in this beautiful house with a white picket fence. I was like, no way. But when I told my boyfriend I was pregnant, the first thing out of his mouth was, you're not having this baby. We're too young. And he gave me a laundry list why I wouldn't be able to continue with my pregnancy. And he said to me, make an appointment, you're gonna have an abortion. And I listened to him, because I didn't want to lose him. I thought I would have this abortion, put this behind me, and life would go on. There was no internet, there was no Google, there was nothing. I didn't even want my parents to see me take the phone book off and I can use phone book because you know what that is, the kids don't. Take the phone book off, because when you opened up the phone book, first thing in the phone book was abortion. So I was like, where am I gonna go? I was 19, my mom didn't even take me to the gynecologist. I hadn't even gone to a doctor yet, and here I was looking for a place to go and have an abortion. So I remembered this girl from the neighborhood, through the grapevine, had 2 abortions. It was like a gossip. I called her up on the phone, and I said to her, do you know where to get an abortion? Because I know someone that needs one. And she said, well, you could go to Brooklyn or you could go to Jersey, but I would go to Jersey because they're nicer. And I said, where is it? And she gave me the number, and I called the abortion clinic in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And the first thing they asked me the first thing they said to me was how much it would be. They didn't ask me, I don't ever remember them asking me anything. But they did tell me that they would use like a fake name when they called me back, I think, to check on me. It was just that part I don't remember much, but it was there was no like, are you allergic to anything? Do you have a ride here? Do you parent? None of that. It was just, this is how much it would be, and show up this day. And I remember telling my boyfriend, and he said, okay. And I remember he picked me up, and it was a beautiful day out, and I lied to my parents. I called out of work sick for work, and I lied to my parents. I told them I was going to Great Adventure. And I walked down the street so I didn't want them to know I was getting in the car with my boyfriend. It was early in the morning. I had the directions in my hand, and here we drove over to Jersey to go to this abortion clinic. And when I got to that clinic, there was a diner. And I remember he said to me, "I'll go in and have breakfast while you're in there." I said, "Okay." But when I got to the door of that clinic, something happened. I froze. And I turned to him and said, "I can't do this." But he gave me a little nudge and said, "Yes, you can." And once I was inside that clinic, it was very nice in the waiting room. And the woman called me up to the receptionist desk, and the first thing she asked me for was the money. I received a paper receipt that day in exchange for my baby's life. I had no idea what was going to happen. They called me in a room, gave me a pregnancy test, told me about how far along I was. I was about 6 to 8 weeks pregnant, waiting to know I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. Told me to sit in another room in a circle with these girls, and I did. And I remember them coming in and just asking us one by one, "What kind of anesthesia you want?" How do I know? And I remember the girl said, "Well, do you want local or general? Do you want to be awake or asleep?" And I said, "No, I want to be asleep." And I remember them talking about how many abortions they had, and I thought to myself, see, those girls are the ones that the church talks about. They're using it as a form of birth control. I will never be back here. We know today that girls do not use abortion as a form of birth control. It's reenactment trauma that they go through over and over again. And we see this on our healing retreats. And sometimes they don't remember how many abortions they had, how they got there, who paid, who got them pregnant. It's like they repeat that trauma over and over, maybe hoping this time for a different outcome. This time my boyfriend will marry me. This time my husband won't leave me. This time. And then they're back. They're not reckless. They're not using it just because they want to go out and have sex and all that. It's called reenactment trauma. I didn't know that. I was judging them. I was sitting right next to those girls, judging them. And when I got called up to go into the room, they told me to take my clothes off and put on a hospital gown. And I did. And they told me to lay down on the table and put my legs in stirrups. And is that such a woman's choice? Is that so great that we say, oh, it's a woman's choice? To expose yourself to 3 people in the room, the doctor, the nurse, and the anesthesiologist, that don't even care to know your name? That's what we're fighting for? That's so wonderful to do that? I was way in over my head. And at that point, there was nothing I could do. Because when I woke up from that abortion, I woke up in a room with every woman in the room crying. Because we wanted our baby back. No one told me that I'd be bleeding after and I'd be passing out in the bathroom. Juice and cookies was my aftercare, and I was told I would be okay in a few days. And I remember they gave me antibiotics. And I know that there are many women that have not gotten antibiotics after their abortion, and that has caused them to have problems later on conceiving children. And I got those antibiotics, which I made sure I took. But when I left the abortion clinic that day, everything good inside of me died. And I wanted to be out of there, and I had a lot of anger inside of me. I was angry at the nurses, the doctors. I was angry at my boyfriend. I was angry at my parents for not talking to me or educating me. I was angry at the church because they hung that banner up there, but what did it mean? I was angry at my CCD teachers because no one ever talked to me about this. I was angry at the priests because I never heard it from the pulpit. And most of all, was angry at God, because how could God do this to me? And I pushed God way out of my life. And I blamed the church for a long time because I felt they let me down. Why wouldn't anybody talk to me about this? And I was angry. And I left that abortion clinic that day, and my life became a living hell. And I was on a self-destruction mode. I turned to more drugs, I turned to more alcohol. My boyfriend and I, our relationship became toxic. He became physically abusive, emotionally abusive, and I didn't care if I lived or died. I went to work every day. I took that abortion and I stuffed it down, like down here, it was like sitting on a beach ball in a pool, and it kept popping up. Never wanting to think that any of my actions was a result of that abortion. Why? Because society tells you it's legal. Lots of women have the abortions, aren't they? Okay. So I just numbed myself. I'd go to work, and then Friday night, I didn't care if I lived or died. I put myself in situations. I could have been raped. I could have been murdered. I didn't care. I walked around with a bottle of pills in my pocketbook because I thought at any time, if the pain got too deep, I would just take my own life. I didn't care. I had no self-esteem. I had nothing. But I managed to just keep coping and coping. But it really didn't matter to me if it just all ended one day. I had younger siblings at home. My mom was home. I had younger siblings at home that, looked up to me, and my mom didn't know what to do. About 6 weeks after my abortion, I was laying in bed, curled up in a fetal position. I was devastated, crying, and my mom was down the shore at her house, and she called me, and she said, "What's going on? What are you doing? You coming down here?" I said, "No." And she said, "Cheryl, are you pregnant?" Like, she knew. Why? Because the strongest bond is between a mother and a child, and she knew something was wrong with one of her children. And I said, "No, Mom, I was. And she said, "Why?" She didn't know, my mother didn't know what to do, but she did to get me to go to a therapist. And she said, "You got to go to counseling." That therapist did not want to hear about my abortion. Okay, he was the Jewish therapist. I went there. My mother, back then, you're talking 1985, there really wasn't my mother didn't know what to do. Someone told her about this man. Every time I tried to bring up my abortion, he told me that wasn't my problem. This was your problem, that's your problem, this your problem, that, but that's not it. So that wasn't good for me anymore. I stopped going to him, but I always had a searching to heal. There was always something there that I wanted to heal. I wanted to be a good person. I didn't want to be out partying all night, thinking about this baby. Oh, because you realize real quick it's a baby, even though the abortion clinics don't want to make you realize it's a baby. They don't even want to use the word baby. So not long after that, I managed to still, like I said, go to work, kind of try to stay under the radar at home. And my company at the time moved into the World Trade Center. So that was like a big, that was really great. I'm working in the World Trade Center. I figured this is good, new job, working in a new building, and I took that abortion everywhere I went. And I met this girl at work. She was, I think, my supervisor or something. And it was right in the beginning when I started working there, and I recognized her last name. And I said, "Oh, I know that name from Staten Island." And it turns out I knew her. I went to school with her stepdaughter. Now, I knew this girl had an uncle that was a priest. There was no way I was hanging out with anybody that had an uncle that was a priest at the time. She came over to my desk one day. We became friendly, and she said, "Cheryl, there's a holy day coming up. Are you going to go to confession?" And I'm like waiting to go to happy hour, and she's asking me about going to confession. And I'm like, I was so crazy back then. I thought, oh my gosh, if I don't go to confession, she might tell people like they know I'm Catholic, and I had all these crazy things. So I said, okay, I'll go. And I remember walking across the street with her. We went to the church, I went in the confessional. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned, and just the floodgates open. I was hysterical, crying. I told the priest about my abortion, and we spoke. He gave me absolution, and for the first time, I thought, "Wow, I feel good." And he said to me, "Come back and talk to me." And I did, and I went back there, and he would, we talked, and he said, "You're forgiven." But when I walked out 30 seconds later, I'm like, there's no way I'm forgiven for this. But that's what the devil does. The devil gets in your head and tells you, you can't have that abortion. How can you take care of that baby? You're going to embarrass your parents. Your boyfriend's not going to marry, blah, 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 blah. And then after you have that abortion, he gets right back on the other side and tells you, you can't be forgiven. Look what you did. You're a horrible person. So after that, I started going to confession to different priests and confessing my abortion over and over, which is extremely common for both post-abortive men and women. Because I always thought that I would get zonked and be like, okay, that's it, you're out. And I thank God I never had that experience. But I did confess my abortion over and over again. And not long after that, my company moved to Jersey. And I remember they asked me to go with them. They gave me a promotion. It was good. Built a new building in Madison, New Jersey. Never heard of Madison, New Jersey. And I thought, well, this is good. New start again, blah, blah, blah. And the abortion came right with me. And I just kept trying and trying. By then, I found another therapist. And this therapist told me to get over my abortion because she had one at 15 also. By the end of the session, I was counseling her. So, and then I thank God, though, back then, I wasn't medicated. Like, they didn't put me on, that wasn't a thing, and I didn't want to be on any medication. Believe me, I was doing enough of my own. So not long after that, I met another girl at work, and she said to me, would you like to come to my house? I'm having a party. She wanted to fix me up with her brother. So I went. I was like, okay. At this point, I went out with every loser in Staten Island. Anyone good that I went out with, I ruined that relationship because I ended up always going back to the boyfriend. Anytime he called me or wanted me, I went back to him. Any crumb he threw me. Why? I wanted my baby back. He was that connection. I felt if I broke that connection with him, I had to break this connection. So I ruined relationships with, nice guys. I cheated on them. I was mean to them because anytime this boyfriend wanted me back, I went. And that's what I did, and that was my pattern. It was like a merry-go-round, around and around and around. So I meet this girl. She wants to fix me up with her brother, go to her house, whatever. And I met him, and I'm like, well, this guy's nice. Well, that's my husband of 32 years this month. Wow. And my husband, I know, he had no idea what he was getting into marrying a post-abortive woman. No idea, clueless. We dated, we married. I walked down the aisle of my parish. I stood on that altar. I took the vows. I wanted to be a good wife, and I wanted to be a good mother someday. And again, I brought that abortion right into my marriage. And it took a huge toll on my marriage, a huge toll. We got married. I was still dealing with the abortion. We buy a house. What comes next? A baby. Why would God want to give me a baby? I was on that birth control pill. My aftercare was another doctor throwing a pack of pills across the desk and telling me, don't get pregnant again. And now, here I am. I want to become pregnant. I stopped taking the birth control pill, and I become pregnant. And into the pregnancy, I started having some issues, and the doctor told me I was probably going to miscarry. I was okay. I was okay with that, because I didn't think I deserved a baby. And then I thought, okay, God, well, I get it. I don't, but God is merciful. And my daughter's 28, married with 2 children. 2 years after that, I had my son. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had a daughter, I had a son, and here I was crying over this baby I aborted. Everybody looks at you like, what is wrong with you? You have 2 healthy babies. You're still crying over that abortion. You're so lucky. You're home. You don't work, blah, blah, blah. I was miserable. I was broken. I needed healing, and I didn't know where to go. So at that point, I knew I needed to do something. I could only go into the church. I baptized the babies. I couldn't even come into a church without crying. But at that point, I knew that I had to do something, so I started going to different religions. A Bible study here. I hate to say, Father Haver, I had Jehovah's Witnesses in my house one time because I thought, the Catholic Church, never in a million years am I ever going to be able to get anything out of that Catholic Church. So I started going different things, Bible studies and that, just trying to find something. And that all changed for me in 1997, 12 years after my abortion. And it was my mom who said to me, Cheryl, you have to listen to this Dr. Dobson, focus on the family. And I'm like, all right, Ma. I'm driving, now I'm back to work, I think part-time, and I'm driving. And there's a woman on there talking about her abortion experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, well, Colorado and blah. So I ended up going to a couple of Focus on the Family conferences. Again, not the Catholic Church. And then right long after that, I woke up on a Sunday morning. This is the God's honest truth. And I looked at my husband, I said, I have to go to church today by myself. And I left him home with the 2 kids, and I went to Queen of Peace. And I walked in, I picked up the bulletin, I sat in the pew, I opened it up, and there it was. Are you suffering from an abortion experience? I closed that bulletin, I looked around, I didn't want anyone to even see me reading that paragraph, and I thought, I'm in Queen of Peace, right? Like, this is a Catholic church, and they're offering healing for abortion? I took the bulletin home, I put it on the kitchen table, I showed my husband, he said, call. And the next morning, I got up and I called the Respect Life office. My predecessor answered, and I just went hysterical crying. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? It's been 12 years. I have 2 healthy kids. What is wrong with me? And that was the first time since my abortion someone had said to me, it's normal what you're going through, post-abortion syndrome. Never heard of it before. She said, but would you like to go to counseling someone that's trained in post-abortion healing? This was all new to me. I said, yes. She said, priest. And I'm thinking, a priest? And she said, yes. But I went. Because when you're so desperate to heal, you'll sleep on the curb if someone tells you to. And that was me. So once a week, I drove to Newark, and I met Father Paul Vial, God rest his soul. He would meet me in the parking lot, walk me in. And I just remember him starting counseling me on post-abortion healing. And I was receiving help that I never received before. And one week he told me I had to name, Cheryl, you have to name your baby. And I'm like, oh, here he goes, getting wacky now. And just like that, the name Christina came to me. And after that, I get another call. It's the Respect Life office, and they asked me to go on the first Rachel's Vineyard retreat. This was October 1997. And I said, now what's this retreat for? And they said, well, this is like what you've been doing, but a whole weekend. And I left my husband and my 2 kids, and I went. And I walked into that retreat, and I'm like, you know what? If you guys can't help me, like, I'm so tired of dealing with this. But that weekend changed my life, because I was able to do 3 things on that weekend that I could not do before. 1, I was able to name and ask my baby to forgive me. 2, I was able to accept God's forgiveness, again, in reconciliation. But the 3rd thing was I was able to forgive myself. And that was the hardest thing for me to do. And when I left that retreat, I thought, why isn't anybody talking about this? Why isn't anybody talking about the pain of abortion? Why are we listening to people saying it's my body, my choice? Why isn't anybody talking about when a woman leaves the clinic what she's going through and the hell that she will go through. And that's when I started going out and sharing my story. And then God blessed me with a third child after my retreat. I didn't even think I deserved my first 2 babies. And then when I had my third, I knew all those lies that the devil wanted me to believe was not true. And God blessed me with a third child. And after that retreat, I've been going out sharing my story because it's the truth. It's the truth. And later on, through the years of Rachel's Vineyard, we realized how much men suffer from abortion. So we never want to forget the men. My boyfriend lost his fatherhood that day. I lost my motherhood, but he lost his fatherhood. And through the years of doing Rachel's Vineyard, we realized the men suffer just as much as the women, except they don't go through the physical part of it. At the end of this month, October 29th, we'll be celebrating 25 years of hosting Rachel's Vineyard in the Archdiocese of Newark, the longest running site in the world. And it was on that first retreat that I knew that this is a ministry that we need to promote and we need to offer to people. And one of the things, the most important thing I think that we do on the retreat is we memorialize our baby. Because my baby died a violent death that day. She died a violent death. So everyone has an opportunity to memorialize their child and give dignity back to their child. And I'm going to share with you now the letter that I wrote to my daughter, Christina, on my Rachel's Vineyard weekend. Dear Christina, I am sorry that it has taken this long to write to you. Where do I begin to tell you how much I love and miss you? My life has never been the same since I aborted you. I can't express enough to you how sorry I am for what I did. I hope you can forgive me. I want you to know how I felt when I found out I was pregnant with you. I was scared and I didn't know what to do. I thought abortion was the best answer. I know today it was the wrong answer. I wish there was a way I could change the past. I wish there was a way I could hold you and rock you in my arms. Christina, you are my little baby in heaven. Please watch over me and help me to be a good mother to your siblings. Help me to teach them to grow, to be full of Jesus' love and grace. You will be in my heart forever and ever. I love you very much. Christina, I wish I could say something to you about your father, but for now, all I could say is you need to pray for him and watch over him. I am going to close this letter by telling you you're my baby girl. I know we will be together someday, but until then, you will be in good hands with Jesus and his blessed Mother Mary. Hugs and kisses forever and ever, Mom. So this is really all I have for Christina, right? Christina's never gonna make her communion. She's never gonna graduate high school. She's never gonna get married. I took all of that away from her because my fear was greater than my faith. And that's something that we see every single day. Fear. People are afraid. People are afraid to hear the truth. People are afraid to speak the truth. Abortion is never right. Never. There is never, ever a reason why a mother has to take the life of her own child. And I always like to use this analogy when I speak, especially with the kids. If you were walking in the woods and you saw a mama bear with her cubs, and you went over and tried to take one of those cubs, what would happen? She'd get you, right? So why is it that we, as human beings, we don't protect our offspring? But a bear, an animal knows to do it, but we don't. We see it every single day in our society, the effects of abortion. We see it in addiction. We see it in infidelity, infertility. We see it in alcoholism. We see it. But if we ever would dare to say that it might be from an abortion, oh my gosh, you can't even say it. You can't say it. So after my retreat, I started getting involved on team with the Rachel's Vineyard, and eventually started working at Queen of Peace. That's how I met Father Have. And in 2013, I started working for the Archdiocese in the Respect Life office. And it was in that role that I knew that I needed to do more. We needed to do more as a church. I knew that we can't just tell women to keep their babies and then not help them. They need help. And I really said, if I need to, talk the talk, I need to walk the walk. And that's how Mercy House was founded. During the Year of Mercy, Pope Francis had asked the Archdiocese to leave something tangible, so I listened. So in 2018, Patty Decker and I, who was my associate director, we really just got in the car and drove around the Archdiocese of Newark to any empty building they had to see where we could put this Mercy House, which was going to be a resource and referral center to help pregnant women in need. And that's how it started, and we opened up in 2018 in Newark at Blessed Sacrament Parish. And I remember opening up, and everybody in the neighborhood was like looking, and people were saying, "Why are you down here? Do you know how, what are you doing down here? Why would you come here?" I said, "This is where God put me." I have no idea. I knew nothing about that area. And when we opened our doors to help women in need, we realized that there was a greater need in the community. So we help pregnant women, families, individuals, everything. And from that, I was asked, and we help them with anything. Sometimes, pregnant women come in and I say, "What do you need to have your baby? How can we help you?" Because we talk about a choice. Well, women have a right to choose to keep their baby. How about that choice? But sometimes they need a little help. Sometimes, one girl, I said, "Well, what do you need to have your baby?" Stroller, diapers, crib. That's it. Support. Come back 4 years. We have 4-year-olds now. We have 4-year-olds and they're still coming back because I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be there for them. So from that, I was asked to open a Mercy House in every county in the Archdiocese of Newark. And at first I'm like, but I thought, okay. So we opened up a second one in Hackensack. In Holy Trinity Parish, and unfortunately, after we opened our doors, the city came in and shut us down. Told us we were in a redevelopment zone and they didn't want any more social justice. So after a year of back and forth, we ended up deciding to still serve the needs of the Hackensack community, but we do it every other Saturday now from the Holy Trinity Church because those people depended on us. So we're still operating in Hackensack, but out of our Mercy House bus on church property, so the city can't say anything to us. From there now, we're opening up in Jersey City at St. Paul the Apostle. It'll be Mercy House, and we have 30 women that live there, not pregnant women, 30 women. They're already there. I took it over it was the Magnificat home. So that'll be the third, and the fourth will be in Union County. And then right now I'll look for another place in Bergen. So Hackensack is still serving Newark and then Jersey City. And we see people come in there all the time. We've doubled our people in Newark to about 150, and we're only open 2 days a week. And I called Jim King at the New Jersey Catholic Conference of Bishops, and I said, Jim, I think I think that Murphy, it's backfiring because I'm getting women pregnant all the time. They're keeping their babies. They're keeping their babies, and the hospital is sending women to us that are keeping their babies. So people want to come to Jersey for an abortion, but they're coming here also for help. And where are they coming? To the Catholic Church. To our church. And they're coming in and we're telling us, we were told that you can help us, and we are. And we are, because we are a church. And like I said, helping women, helping men, that's what we could do. And from now on, like when I talk to people that come in, if they're hurting, I'll say, have you had a pregnancy loss? If they come through the Mercy House, they could come on a Rachel's Vineyard. We do 4 Rachel's Vineyard a year, 2 in English and 2 in Spanish. We just had one in September. And if every single person made a Rachel's Vineyard retreat, we would no longer have abortion in our country or our world. Rachel's Vineyard is all over the world, and there's a great need for it. In 2015, I was asked to go on a retreat. So Dr. Teresa Burke, who founded Rachel's Vineyard, who is amazing. In 2015, I was able to attend her retreat, Grief to Grace, that heals the wounds of abuse, spiritual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. And I went on this retreat because anything Teresa Burke does, in my opinion, is through God. I really feel she's just an amazing person. I wouldn't be here today without her and the Rachel's Vineyard. But in 2015, I went and took someone on that retreat, and I went myself with that person. And I thought, well, you know, I've been dealing with my abortion for so many years, and I've had healing and this and that. It wasn't until they did an intake on me to go on the retreat that I realized that I also had hid down my sexual abuse way down deep inside, probably below the abortion, and minimized it, thinking that it wasn't that bad. Maybe other people were abused worse than me. You know, you hear all these horror stories. Well, that was a horror story, but mine. Until I went on that retreat and realized that, no, you were abused. You were sexually abused. And that abuse led you to make this choice, because we know there's a connection between abortion and abuse. And that's why Teresa founded that. And when I came back from that retreat, again, I knew that that was a retreat that we also need to offer to heal people. It's all about the healing, the healing, the healing. You know, we could sit all day and complain and judge and this and that. It's not going to get us anywhere. But when we bring people to healing, bring people to Christ, that's what's going to change people's hearts. When people share how they've been hurt and they've been damaged, that's what's going to change people's hearts. And that's what I hope that some of you were able to get out of coming tonight. And educate. It's, you know, we need to educate our kids. We're so afraid to talk about abortion. We're so afraid to talk about it, or to our kids, or in school, or, you know, CCD, or we're just so afraid. Why? It's our faith. It's who we are. Other faiths aren't afraid to talk about it, about why should we be? We need to be our children's first educators, and I realize that. And I tried my best to educate each and every one of my children at a young age about my abortion. My kids grew up with Rachel's Vineyard, and I thank God that they're pro-life. I thank God. They've lost friends on social media when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I told each and every one of my kids, I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. I don't care about any of that. Respect life. That's what it's about. And we need to do more as a church, as a community, to educate. Because if we don't, who's going to do it? The Kardashians? Hollywood? When I first started going out and speaking, I didn't have to go up against Hollywood because no one talked about their abortion. Now they're talking about it like, oh, I wouldn't be up here getting this Oscar if I didn't have my abortion. This is what the kids are hearing. They're not hearing the truth. So, so I'm going to close right now. I'm holding on because I had surgery back in April, and I'm still in physical therapy for it. But I want to know if anybody has any questions or comments. Anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to ask?
Have you worked at all with Raphael's Lighthouse?
In Elizabeth. Well, they're under Covenant House now, so I do. But thank God I've only had 2 homeless pregnant women come through the doors of Mercy House. But we don't really get that We don't see that need, thank God.
Yeah, I know the woman, one of the women who started that, she has since passed.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have several sources and also.
And I did a lot of fundraising with the moms group I belong to for Raphael's Life House.
Yeah, they're under Covenant House now. But thank God I haven't gotten too many women that needed a place to live. 2 in the 4 years in Newark.
For those who aren't familiar with it, they have 12 beds, and they bring in pregnant girls who are homeless, and they take care of them, and then they actually help when the baby's born, and they help them get set up and everything.
It's like several sources.
Beautiful.
What we're seeing though, what I've been seeing is back in the back day, like in my day, you didn't want to go home pregnant. There was, oh look at, there's a deer. There was a stigma to it. Well, this, right? Now, it's either, we don't even want to talk about adoption anymore. It's just you're going to keep your baby or have an abortion. And if the girl decides to keep the baby, now you got a gender reveal, you got all that. Where years ago, there was more like you kind of hushed a little bit. Not anymore. Now marriage is like down the road for some of them. So, but I do know of them. But thank God I haven't gotten too many girls, like I said. Does anyone else have any questions? Comments? No?
Just very moved by you. This is the first time I've heard of someone who was had an abortion. Very moving. But I'm glad you come to the healing process.
Thank you.
You're on your way. I mean, look what you're doing now because of what you did, what you had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God has given you this ministry and you're taking it so far to so many people, to so many girls. So, God bless you.
Thank you.
Taking the initiative to do this.
And October 29th at, I should have brought flyers, we'll be celebrating the 25th anniversary of Rachel's Vineyard, and everyone's invited. We're having Mass at noon at the Chancery, and then we'll have a reception after, and it's open to anyone who's made a weekend, has supported Rachel's Vineyard, pro-life ministries, everybody. We want to get the word out because this ministry needs to continue. And I'm very grateful that the Archdiocese of Newark supports this ministry. I had a call from another diocese, another retreat in another state, and they want 2 people to come on my next retreat, and they said, we don't get any support from our diocese. That's crazy. So we are my office is extremely blessed here in Newark. I have a budget for Rachel's Vineyard, Mercy House also. But we go out there and we really work hard to get donations. Mercy House is run on donations and volunteers. Alexis being one of the people that comes with donations. You know, if I have a baby, I need a crib. We have women that are coming in pregnant. You want them to keep the baby. They don't even know where they're putting that baby. They don't have a crib. They don't have a blanket. They have nothing. So that's what got me. You want them to keep that baby, but this girl don't even know where she's putting this baby. So that's why Mercy House. So then I'll go for a call. I need a crib. I need this. I need that. I'll just share with you, because I think it's so funny that University Hospital is a state hospital, right? They're not allowed to, their nurses and doctors are not allowed to accept a gift from anybody, right? So they have to donate it. So Mercy House gets a lot of stuff. So because it's a state hospital, they have a program there, which is great. They help women. They call me for car seats because they can't go home, the baby's without a car seat. Whoa, you're the state. Now you're coming to the church? I think that's so funny. It's crazy how it works. But anyway, so we work with them a lot. And like I said, I'll never, not help somebody that comes through. And people are coming through a lot more and more for need. And a lot of food, baby food, stuff like that. But
This other pamphlet that you have about
Yeah, that's grief to grief.
Friends of my age, I'm 75, that have gone through this through their whole life. I'm not sure they've heard about this.
Well, they probably didn't. That's why I brought pamphlets tonight. That you can bring, you never heal, your abortion, your abuse, whatever, it never goes away. When someone calls me to come on a retreat, I tell them, this retreat's, you're never going to forget your abortion, but it's going to help you to memorialize that baby, bring dignity, and have a relationship with that baby. I had a man 95 years old come. That's the oldest. I just had to call a woman 80 years old. And they've been carrying that all those years. So that's why I continue. I don't speak Spanish, but after a while, I'm like, I don't know Spanish. And it was Father Have. He came to Mercy House, and he said, Cheryl, we need to bring back the Spanish retreat. I'm like, okay, but I don't speak Spanish, but we'll do it. And we started it up, and Father Have helped me, and I'm like, of course I'll do it. I don't speak Spanish. So we took us a little bit, but we ended up getting a good team, and I have a young girl that helps me. And in the beginning, I sat in the room with my English manual and helped her with the Spanish manual. And that had such an impact on the healing, because they couldn't believe somebody would want to just sit there. I didn't know anything. But now, thank God that we do 2 and 2 a year. And it was Father Have that said, we need to bring this back, and I'm thankful that we did. So we have the 2 in English and 2 in Spanish. So, does anyone else have any? Alexis? Huh. Yeah, we need to reach the kids in our Catholic schools. We also need to reach the kids in CCD programs as well. We need to reach the kids at home in public schools, Catholic schools.
Because my high school is too late.
Well,
It started formula because they were already good. I stood in the 8th grade class last year when I had the speaker.
the problem when our kids can be exposed to everything, right? God knows what they're doing. I mean, I teach protecting God's children, and I tell the parents all the time, you go to Verizon, by the time you're home, they're on the phone doing everything, okay? They don't know. They're on the app, they're on this, they're on social media, but then if we talk about abortion, oh my God, because you know why? It becomes a political thing. It's not a political thing. It's got to be a spiritual thing, an emotional thing, a healing thing. I think that, as far as, with the schools, I just have to keep working. We have that Caring for Life committee. Have to start getting that up and running. I am going to be speaking this month especially. I'll be out there speaking. Huh? Yeah. And I'm going to be going into high schools. So hopefully, how I feel about the high schools is I never want to say it's too late, because there might be someone there that needs to hear about the healing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
And an 8th grader now, I think it has to be done.
oh, it has to be.
At least through Catholic school curriculum.
Right. Well, it is in the Catholic school curriculum. I mean, it's in the Catholic Church curriculum. I'm glad you mentioned that, because now you can imagine being one of my kids. I did the total opposite with my kids that my parents did. I educated, I do diagrams, I spoke to them, they knew about my abortion, I talked to them. Rachel's Vineyard was a household name, abortion is wrong, Nobody got more education than my 3 kids. I mean, I was very open with them. Catholic school, pre-K 3, 12th grade, all the way. And I really thought, I did a good job. That's it, my kids are good, they're pro-life, blah, blah, blah. And brought my daughter to college, freshman year. And she came home Christmas break, and I thought she was having a gallbladder attack or something, and I became a grandmother. That was 10 years ago, almost. And I'll tell you something, it rocked my world. And I said, you know what, God, are you kidding me right now? Like, really? I got a call. I was working part-time at MetLife Stadium. I was going to work a Jet game. And and she came in my room in the morning, and she said, Mom, Sal's bringing me to the hospital, her boyfriend. I said, why? What's going on? She says, I got a stomach ache. And she had a stomach ache the night before, and I'm like, ugh, and I'm thinking, these kids can't take pain, they're so baby, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I gotta go to the hospital. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, oh, well, she'll go to the hospital by the time they work her up, blah, blah, blah. I jump in the shower, I come out of the shower, the phone rings, I answer it, what's going on? She goes, Mom, it's Erica. Yeah, well, I'm gonna come to the hospital, what's going on? She goes, Mom, I'm pregnant. You're pregnant? She goes, yeah, but I have to go for tests. I literally, my heart, I was like, what? I got dressed, I called my sister, she came over, we were driving over to Clara, Mass, and I was like a witch. I'm like, I could not believe she had sex. All the education in it, and I was devastated, and I got to the hospital, and I'm thinking she's gonna miscarry because she's going for tests. And I remember walking in the lobby, and his parents whipped around, and the mother said to me, do you know where she is? And I'm like, where? Maternity. And I'm like, why? Because she's having a baby, and 3 hours later, my granddaughter was born. And it was December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. I didn't have a bottle. My daughter was 18. She was home on Christmas break. And I remember walking in that room, and I stayed with her, and she had the baby. And I remember telling her, you're going back to school, and you will be a nurse. And that's how that's going to happen. And fast forward, Isabella will be 10 in December. She married the father. They have a 3-year-old son, and my daughter finishes this semester, she'll have a master's in nursing. Was it rough? It was rough like you wouldn't believe. She was 18, and I was pissed. I was really pissed, and I was hurt because all that education, all that talking, I thought we had close, but you know what she said to me when the dust settled? She said, Mom, I never thought it would happen to me. I said the same thing. But when she came home with that baby, the mother switch went on. And she got a lot of help, and she got a lot of support, but she did it. And it was rough, and I was mad because I thought, here I am out, talking, and so yes, we need to educate, but just because we educate, it doesn't always mean they're gonna make the right decision, but it's always about planting the seeds, so we do need to get more and more education. So yeah, I haven't just coasted, I've been through a lot, but God also has given me a lot of blessings, so. Anyway, if that's it, then Father Havey, do you have anything you want to say? Because I'll just keep talking and talking.
Any prenatal care?
Oh no, my daughter never had any prenatal care. But you know what? Father Havey was at Queen of Peace at the time. We had just gotten back from Guatemala. I go to mission trips in Guatemala, and my daughter was with me. I was in the room with her in August. My granddaughter was born in December. She had no prenatal vitamins, never had a sonogram. And I think I remember talking to you, they don't have anything in Guatemala as far as prenatal, and they have their healthy babies. No, nothing. But I just want to share this one thing. I was at Clara, Mass with her, and they had the nerve to tell her that they might have to call DIFUS because she didn't have any prenatal vitamins. And with that, her pediatrician flung the door open and was like, are you kidding me? So I said to them, the mother, that I said, so let me get this straight. If she aborted this baby and knew, you wouldn't care. But anyway, it worked out, her pediatrician. But that's how the mentality of it, you know, they thought she was neglecting the baby with prenatal. So, anyway. Oh. No, I'm okay. I'm just stretching my head.
Okay, I want to thank you, Cheryl, again for being courageous, for sharing the story of hope and healing. So 3 things that we can do, those of you that decided to come, 3 things that we can do after we heard her story. You can take some other resources that are available here. The other thing that you can do is I put a basket back there if you want to help the pro-life office. You know where this will go to help the Mercy House or the pro-life. If you want to give a donation, there's a basket back there. It will be for the pro-life office. And thirdly, pray for this ministry. It's under attack because Satan really wants men and women to be in bondage. You heard what Cheryl said, that, you know, when women and men are suffering from this, they feel that God is not there. Something happens to them spiritually and psychologically. So please pray, because again, I have been part of this ministry since I was ordained, 10 years, and I see what happens, and I see the healing that happens, how many women arrive there on Friday, and on Sunday there's like a resurrection that they go through, and you know there's healing. And so you can spread a message. This will be available on our channel, YouTube. Share it with other people. Do not be afraid. Send it to people that you know, because I am sure there's like 10 of us here. I'm sure that you know or may not know somebody directly who went through an abortion, and we have to speak about hope and that there is healing. So thank you again, Cheryl, for being here. We'll pray for you, and I will give you a final blessing. The Lord be with you. May Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Go in peace.
Oh, yeah, so people have generous, you know, Tom has been generous to the respect, Alexis, you know, you could pay it for, people will come on a retreat and then they'll sponsor the next person, because I do get a budget, what we charge doesn't even cover what the retreat costs, but that's one way also, if you'd like to ever sponsor someone to come on a retreat as well, all right, especially with COVID, it's got a little crazy there for a while, so, but anyway, that's it.